Mr. Speaker, I call Ron Mark. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In rising to take this call on behalf of New Zealand First, I want to start by talking about some people who haven't even gained one mention from the government to this point. And that is the Defence Force personnel who will be deploying. The Defence Force personnel who will lay their lives on the line to do what this government has told them that it must do. Let's be very clear, Mr. Speaker. Our Defence Force personnel will be just like typical Kiwis, soldiers, Air Force personnel and sailors, the like of which we've come to know and love and to honour. They will be chomping at the bit to get to grips with this mission. That is their nature. That is the way we are. And if either I or Derek Ball were back in uniform again, I would say without a doubt, should we have been asked to do this mission, it would have been emphatic, yes sir, when do we go? But it is not their job to determine whether or not this deployment is appropriate. That's the job of this government. Ideally, Mr. Speaker, it should have been the job of this Parliament. Ideally, Mr. Speaker, this government would have gone out of its way to consult with all political parties to get as wide a level of consensus in behind our Defence Force personnel as was possible, that they might deploy and in the worst case not come home. Know that the job and the duty that they performed had the support of the majority of this House. This government has instead chosen to embark on a misinformation campaign, a spin campaign, the like of which I cannot recall in this country's history. Prior to the election, it was politically inconvenient to have the question put. There was an assurance we weren't going into combat. During the election, there were more such assurances. In December, we had the Minister denying that troops were under training. Well, look at the facts as revealed here today. When New Zealand First said there were 130 to 140 personnel training and preparing to go, the Minister denied it. Today, we're told 130 personnel are likely to go. When we said that the deployment was likely to occur and decisions would be made in February, start of March, guess what? It's late February, we're heading to March. When we said that there were troops going from 2nd 1st Battalion, from 1 Battalion, from QAMR, the Minister scoffed and made light and joked. What do we now know? 2nd 1st Battalion, 1 Battalion and QAMR. It begs the question, who knows more about defence than the Minister of Defence? Clearly everybody. Clearly everybody. And he made jokes about that. This is the Minister of Defence whose biggest whine and bitch was that he couldn't understand the acronyms and the Defence Force really needed to stop using them because he couldn't understand. We need to think about these personnel privates who are earning, what, $44,000 a year? $44,000 a year? Second lieutenants who are likely to be platoon commanders, what are they on, $50,000 to $60,000 a year? We need to think of the large numbers of troops coming back from Afghanistan and other deployments who are suffering PTSD and the trials and the rigours that they've gone through to try and get assistance and get help. Think about that now, government, Prime Minister, Minister of Defence, Minister of Veterans Affairs, because one thing I know from my past military experience, and Derek knows, as an Army officer, you certainly don't think about it when we're asking for help for them. Think about what they're being paid, what they're being asked to do. And let's not give them any more of this illusionary rhetoric and gloss about the safety of the mission. Tudji, what do we know about Tudji? Well, we know that it was the centre and the hub of death squad killings by Al-Qaeda, and it still seems to be that way. We know that there's a mix of Shia and Sunni there, and if that mix exists in the training base, there will be inherent risks of green on blue. We know that they're poorly paid in the Iraqi Defence Force, and therefore, and Mark Mitchell knows this, that they are open and subject to threats, to bribery, and all of those other things that occur inside of corrupt organisations where you have the very wealthy and the very poor and the disempowered. We know that these people, ISIL, are very well trained, and we know that they study the responses of forces to ambushes and to other interdictions. We know that they go back and study the tactics and they prepare for the next time, so that they know precisely what the battalion's drills, what our soldiers' drills might have been, and they know how to counter it. They know about secondary ambushes, where they seek to make the biggest strike. We know that this mission is high risk. There is no behind the wire when you have Defence Force personnel who will take a bribe, who might find that their family's been threatened and just leave the gate open, or shoot the guard to allow an entry to happen. Mr. Speaker, all the rhetoric and all the chest thumping and all of the carry-on actually does our Defence Force personnel a disservice. They will go loyally where they are sent. They deserve the right. They deserve to know that the majority of this House supports them, and they deserve to know that this government has done everything it can not to politic around the fringes, not to minimise the risk to the polls, not to avoid having to answer the horrible question at the most awkward of times. They deserve to know that our government would have actually spent time with other political parties, gone through the issue, gone through the risks, and worked to garner wide consensus and wide support, and that did not happen, and that saddens me greatly. We need to know about the training activities that these people are going to be involved in, our Defence Force personnel. We've heard a lot, but we've heard nothing. Are we training raw recruits? Are we training Iraqi Special Force personnel? Are we training their officer cadets? Are we training them to be leaders? Are we training them not to be corrupt? Are we training them to look after their personnel? Precisely, and who's training us and how to train them? Because we haven't been there. Well, not quite. Actually, there have been a hell of a lot of New Zealanders in Iraq for the last 13 years. Some of them are back home now, some come and go, they go to other countries all over the world. And in fact, if you look at what the Prime Minister has talked about today, you could have given this work to a contractor to do. A contractor that has the sanction of the club members, because those club members have many such companies engaged in this precise work. And we as a nation might well have chosen to focus instead on humanitarian aid, like sending a Defence Force field hospital. Oops, sorry, I think we sold that, didn't we? Yeah, we probably sold that. Maybe actually if we'd maintained the promise that National Party gave to re-establish our air combat capability, we might have been able to send that. But oops, there goes another promise made. Simon Power, Don Brash, supported by half the people that sit in the front benches of this government. Whoops, just forgot that one. So we don't have those options. But while we are thinking about these personnel who are about to leave, while we are thinking about the position that we put them over Christmas, where they could not tell their mum and not tell their dads and not tell their grandparents or their uncles and aunties that yes, I am going to Iraq, they could not confide in the detail. Just think about that. Just think about the effect on those young people and those families. I know families have spoken to me under my guarantee that I would not mention their names, obviously. Families are naturally worried, as they should be. Our young men and women are ready to go and do the government's job, as we knew they would be. But I want this House to think carefully about the way it's treated Defence Force personnel. Look at what's happening in Linton. We're selling off defence houses that soldiers and their families live in, and throwing these very same soldiers from one battalion, QAMR, out into the free market forces. Oh, go fend for yourself. This country loves you so much, we're going to send you to Iraq, give you a medal, and by the way, we're taking your house off you, and you're going to be subject to some landlord ripping you off for rents that we know you can't afford because you've only been paid $44,000 a year. Don't worry, we love you. We're going to give you an operational deployment. Well, now is the time. Now is the time for this government to think seriously about some of the things that are happening inside of the Defence Force, some of the things that we are not doing to support our Defence Force personnel. Don't sit there, beat your chest and tell me how wonderful you are as a government because you're taking on these nasty, brutal ISIS people. Because the truth of the matter is, your focus as a government should be looking after our Defence Force personnel whom you're about to deploy into Iraq to do your job.
The Honourable